Loud.
Chesterton,
Down this way, Ray.
since you are one of the foremost crusaders in the modern world of letters, we wish to adopt you into the humble ranks of the Holy Cross Crusaders.
I have to thank you for this very great honor, and I do so with all my heart. I can only say that I am not much of a crusader, but at least I am not a Mohammedan. And many people will testify to the fact.
All our world will end in despair unless there is some way of making the mind itself the ordinary thoughts we have at ordinary times more happy than they seem to be just now, to judge by most modern novels and poems. You've got to be happy in those quiet moments when you remember that you are alive. Lord Crewe, ladies and gentlemen, you will be very naturally puzzled by my occupying any space, let alone so much space, in this somewhat crowded but very distinguished assembly. And you will naturally ask why any words of mine need be added to the distinguished and beautiful words of that great veteran genius of literature whom we have the honor of having with us today. More especially as I have no kind of claim to deal with the things with which he has dealt. I do not know the dominions as he knows them. I have traveled here and there in the miserable character of one giving lectures, but not otherwise. And I have no special reason for claiming to express a hospitality towards Canadians which would be expressed by every person in the street outside as enthusiastically as by me. Let me say then, quite briefly, that my reason for accepting this invitation and for being here today is quite simply a desire to return hospitality. I remember that I was received by this great Canadian Literary Society when I first appeared in the great American city where I first lectured, with a hospitality for which I shall never be able to give sufficient thanks. And I think we shall all agree that whatever controversies or arguments rage about the character of what used to be called colonial life, at least the ancient human traditional virtue of hospitality is there, flamboyant and magnificent in a degree almost unknown in our more fatigued society. All I know was that the Canadian Literary Society rushed out, as it were, full of hospitality, wanting to welcome anybody from England, any stray traveller. In the confusion of the moment, I was mistaken for a literary man and dragged in to partake of that glorious camaraderie. I didn't know what to do. I thought of trying to explain that I was a lecturer, but I wouldn't do, because some of them had been to my lecture. Then I thought, could I say I was a journalist? But I was quite sure that would not go down. God forbid that I should commit so ghastly an error as for doing what I well know to be the one unpardonable sin of confusing for a single moment the two great commonwealths that occupy the northern continent of America. But I think it is true to say that the ideal of a pressman, that the strenuous virtue required of a journalist, is somewhat similar in Canada and in the United States. A pressman means a very different sort of person from me. One glance at me would show that I had never crashed through a skylight in order to interview a celebrity, that I had not slid through a door that was almost shut in my face by somebody who wanted to keep me out of his bedroom, that I had never performed any of those things that are the glory of journalism in the great world beyond the sea. Therefore, I was, as I say, in despair, and I had to pretend to be a literary man for the rest of that occasion. And I grieve that it is necessary to continue that pretense, even for this brief luncheon hour. And one of the first necessities of the pretense, of course, is to talk about things you do not understand, one of which is Canada. Architecture is the most practical and most dangerous of the arts. All the other arts we have to live with. There are things we have to live with, and some have even said, as regards some kinds of music and painting, that they are things they could live without. But architecture is not a thing only that we have to live with, it is a thing we have to live in. We live with it as Jonah lived with the whale. Jonah could not see the monster, and there is a great deal to be said for living in the most hideous house you can see in the landscape, as that is the one place where you will be unable to see it.